Right. So any questions, guys? Any questions, doubts before jumping into the session? Anyone tried setting up the RDP? Any challenges you faced while setting up the RDP? Is RDP feature working fine for you guys? So as discussed earlier, before using RDP, please keep an eye on the a laptop operating system, guys. Your laptop, your local laptop operating systems. So if it is Windows 10 Home or 11 Home, sometimes it will work, sometimes it will not work. Okay, so you have to update the latest updates, guys. Okay, you have to update your laptop with the latest updates. Maybe it will help you in case if you're having Windows 10 Home or 11 Home Pro. In case if your Windows laptop version is 10 Pro or 11 Pro, so there will be no issues for home users. Okay, so you can check it in the system information or open run, type MS Info 32, you can see system information. So there also you can check whether it is a home or pro. First thing, and that is very important. Please practice it. And in case if it is not working, don't worry. So you can still practice by just logging into the server directly. Okay, direct means here you can see on my screen, right? So if you are using Control plus Delete, it will ask you for the credentials. This is your direct connection. Directly you are connecting to the server. If you are using RDP feature, that is the RDP. So either you can connect directly to the server or you can use RDP. So if you don't have RDP or if it is not supporting, don't worry. Okay, so not an issue. Maybe you might not experience RDP, but you can still work with the server, guys. So that is how it is going to work. Fine. So Leah, just check the connections once. I can see that you are just sending this one only. What is that? Just system information, not system information, control panel. So I need this PC properties, okay, of the server. I need this PC properties and remote settings screenshot. That is one screenshot I need. And virtual machine VM settings, network settings. Those two screenshots I need. But I can see that what is that? Um, Task manager screenshot only. And the previous one, I don't see the IP address. So it is showing 169 series. If you enable these two settings, mostly it will be 192 series. Okay, just send me those two screenshots. I can help you on that. Okay, Leah? Right. So now let me connect to the,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So let me connect to the server, guys. So in the last class, we discussed about the management studio. So what is management studio, how it will work, how to download management studio, and how to install management studio, how to open management studio, how to connect to the servers in the management studio, the services that are going to be created. Okay, once you install the SQL Server, the folders, directories that are going to be created after the installation of SQL Server, right? The use of each folder. So all these things we discussed in the previous sessions, guys. So in this session, we'll slowly jump into the SQL Server. We'll start creating the databases. We'll see the internals of database, like how the data will be organized physically, how the data will be organized logically. So these things we'll cover in this session, guys. Okay. So I just connected to the server. So we'll open SSMS now. So daily this is very common. Once you connect to the server, generally to connect to the SQL server, we'll open the SSMS, guys. So using SSMS, we can connect to the SQL server. So today what we'll do, we'll create one database. Okay, we'll create one database. The data in the SQL server will be stored in the databases, guys. The data in the SQL server internally will be stored in the databases. So when you can create database, when you install SQL server, then only you can create the databases. Okay. So once you install the SQL Server, then we can go ahead and we can create the database. So what is the definition of database, guys? Database is a collection of data files and log files. Okay, so what is data file? What is log file? I'll explain. Database is a collection of data files and log files. Check this. One minute, guys. Just opening the notes. So what about the assignment, guys? Everyone completed that SQL Server default and named instance installation? So how many of you installed SQL Server default and named instances, guys? Please raise your hands. No one? Okay. Tabang, very good. Next. Nitin, Veka, very good. Nizu, good. Alsifa, good. Jay, good. Mahesh, good. Prem, okay. Okay, Ruth. Okay, Bhagya. Very good, guys. Okay. So please install. Very good, Anjan and Teddy. Good. So, guys, again, I'm saying, please, that's the regular activity in the organization. Please install SQL Server default instance and named instance. Jay, every day you are connecting from two devices. Okay. So that is difficult going forward. Why? Because a lot of issues are there with multiple devices. Just sort it out, Jay. Okay. Yeah, very good, Pranay and Surya, Anjan. Right. So on a regular basis, we'll install SQL servers, guys, in the organization. So you should know how to install default instance and named instance, and you will get some challenges while installing also. And before installing, you have to set up RDP and all, right? So try to install, don't skip the practice. I'm happy that at least half of you are completed the installation and all. Right. So now let's connect to the server and let me open SSMS. So if I want to create a database, so first of all, I have to connect to the server. Okay, I have to connect to the SQL server. So once I connect to the SQL server, so we can create the database. See, we can do any activity using GUI. Most of the activities, 95% activities we can do using GUI, but some activities GUI won't support. So for that, we have to use queries also. So I'll try to show you like how to create the database using GUI and how to create the database using query also. Both ways I'll show you maximum how much, but you don't need to remember any queries, guys. Small queries will be there, one line queries, two line, not even two lines, just one line queries will be there. 5 to 10 hardly that we will use regularly. On a regular basis, we'll use up to 10 queries. Very simple, one line queries will be there. That you have to remember. Sometimes they will ask you in the interviews also. But generally, if the script is big, generally we don't need to remember any script and all. Okay, so we can generate the script also. I'll show you how to generate the script also. Right. So now Let's start with the database, guys. So database means it's a collection of data files and log files. Log file as of now, I'll explain. Okay. Database is a collection of data files and log file. So in the SQL Server, we'll use databases to store the data. So we can create the database initially. So once the database is created, the data will be stored. The data will be stored in the form of in the form of in which format the data will be stored, guys? In which format the data?
Table.
Tables, in the form of tables. So these tables will be created in the databases. So if I want to store the data, I need a table. If I want the table, if I want to create the table, I need the database. If I want to create the database, I need SQL Server. So this is how it will be organized, guys. Okay. So in the SQL Server, databases will be there. In the databases, tables will be there. Okay. So now we'll try to create one database. Let's see what kind of components and all we'll get it. So let's try to understand the meaning of each component. So I told you, right? Actually, the data will be stored in the form of tables, and these tables will be created in the databases. So first let's connect to any SQL server. So I'm just connecting to the SQL server. So sometimes, okay, you might get the error while connecting to the SQL server, guys, because we are not using licensed version of OS operating system. We are using Windows 19 evaluation, I guess. Okay, evaluation means the services and all will not work properly. So yes, regularly we'll get this error while connecting to the SQL server. So I hope you know the solution how to troubleshoot this error. Okay, so what kind of reasons, guys? Yeah, you can see the error now on your screen. So how to troubleshoot this? Can anyone help me quickly? Server name is correct. I'm using computer name only. So there is no issue with the server name. Next, what I did in the last session.
Services need to start.
Yes, okay. So let's go to the services of the server. So how you can open a services, guys? You can just open run Windows R and type services.msc. So just open the services. In case if the services are, I told you in 2, 3 scenarios we'll get this error. One is if the server name is wrong, and second one is if the services are not up and running, and the third one is if the server is not in the network. If the server is not in the network or not reachable, generally we'll get that kind of errors, guys. So go to SQL services, and this is our default instance database engine. This is main service, guys. This is main service. You can see here SQL Server in the brackets MS SQL Server. So this is our main service, and then you can just right click start or select the service and you can click start, guys. So once you started the service, then you can try connecting to the SQL Server, guys. Once you started the services, then you can try connecting to the SQL Server. Right. Now the service is started. So this is the main service, guys. Without this service, don't start agent service and all. There is a dependency. Okay. Before starting the agent and full text, you have to start the database engine service. So there is a dependency. So once you started this, mostly full text will start automatically. Agent you can start it. Okay. Agent also you can start it. So I'm just starting agent from SSMS also. You can start the agent. Okay. So agent is not mandatory to connect to
I
the server,
have a
guys.
question.
Yes, Alsifa.
So I see it's automatic. Why it didn't come out automatic? You said about
That's
the
what
automatic,
that's
right?
what that's what we are not using a licensed version of OS. Okay, so if you are using a licensed version of OS, these kind of issues you won't face. So we are using evaluation edition of OS operating system. Okay, so Windows 2019 data center evaluation. So it depends upon the OS also. So OS, if it is a free, you don't get all the features. This evaluation
Okay,
edition is free, so you don't get all the features. So things might not work properly as expected with the free versions. That's why even though it is automatic, it's not starting automatically. Right. So now I'm connecting to the server again and click on connect button. I'm using the computer name. Okay. And click connect. So this time I should be able to connect. So now I just connected to the SQL server, guys. So once you connect to the SQL server, okay, what you can do, you can expand the databases. Okay. You can see the databases here. So there is a databases option, system databases and database snapshots, guys. So in case if you create any new database, the database you can see here, guys. Okay. Now let's try to create a new database. To create a new database, we can create in two ways. One is GUI and another one is query. I'll show you both. So right click on databases and you can see new database option. Just select that new database option. So again, database is a collection of two files. One is data file, second one is log file. So what is the use of these two files? We'll discuss slowly. So database name you have to provide, guys, when you are creating any object. Okay, you have to give the object name. In the SQL Server, everything will call it as an object only, guys. So database is also object, tables are also object, logins are also objects. So everything will call it as an object generally. The general word that we will use is like object. So database name, I'm just trying to create batch 56, or let's go with the Walmart database. Okay, let's go with the Walmart database. So now I'm creating this Walmart database, guys. So for every object in the SQL Server, there is a owner. For every object in the SQL Server, there is a owner. So how this thing will work? Owner, generally, if it was mentioned default, means who is creating the database, he will become the owner of the database. If you are creating an object, you are the owner, right? So in the same way, when you are creating a database, if you keep this owner as default, so who are creating this database? Who is creating this database, guys? Now someone is doing some actions in the management studio. Who is that? Can anyone tell me?
System admin.
Administrator.
Administrator. You can see here. See, server name contains three parts. One is instance name, second one is bill number, third one is login. Who connected to the server? Okay, so this is the login name. So earlier I used administrator to log into the Windows machine. So, and I opened SSMS and I'm connected using administrator account only. I means administrator opened SSMS. Administrator connected to the SQL Server using his account computer name / administrator. So now if I just make this as default, if I don't change the owner of the database, who will be the owner of this Walmart database, guys?
We are.
Administrator.
Administrator.
Administrator is creating the database, right? So now everything is doing administrator, guys. Everything is like administrator only is doing everything, like running the scripts, creating the objects and all. So in case in the organization, if you have a separate account, like everyone will get a separate account. For example, Tabang joined an organization, he got a separate account, a.tabang. So he connected to the SSMS using his account, a.tabang. So when Tabang is creating a database, if we don't change the owner, so who will be the owner of this database, guys?
Administrator.
No,
Walmart.
no. Just now we discussed it, right? If you logged in to the machine and if you are using SSMS with administrator, then administrator will be the owner. Tabang got a separate account, a.tabang, and he logged into the management studio using a.tabang account. And here also, when he connected to the SQL Server, here also it is showing a.tabang. Now Tabang is creating the database. He did not change the owner. So who will be the owner of the database?
Tabang.
Tabang only. Who is creating? Tabang connected to the SQL Server and he is creating. So default owner will be Tabang only. He logged into the SQL Server using his account. If he is using administrator account, Tabang administrator is the owner. If he is using his own account, he is the owner. So now Tabang created a database. After 1 year, Tabang left the organization. He got a good opportunity. So Tabang account is deleted from the domain, Active Directory. So, but some of the objects are on his name, on his account. But if his account is deleted, then the objects might not work properly. Are you getting the point, guys? So that's why it's not a good practice to keep the owner as default. So we'll always change it to SA. What is this SA? When you install SQL Server, you will get a permanent login, which is SA. This one, okay? SA login. So owner should be any login. So SA is a permanent login. SA is a default login. System administrator is the default login. So when you install SQL Server, automatically you get this SCA. No one can delete SCA. Okay, so that's why all the object owners should be SCA only. Again, some of the things might not work properly because of this issue. Always while troubleshooting also, check the owner. For example, you're running a job. While running the job, while creating the job also, we have a concept of job. Job is also an object. So we have a concept of owner. Okay, so when you are creating a job with your own account, so the owner will be your name. Okay, if you are generally we don't use administrator account in the organization, guys. We'll use our own accounts. Okay, we'll use our own accounts with administrator privileges. So again, if Tabang created a job and he left the organization, that job might not work properly. The job can be failed. So the one reason can be owner because of the account issue. So always check who is the owner. It's one of the troubleshooting step also. The owner for any object should be SCA only. Is it clear, guys? Either databases or logins. Okay, sorry, this one jobs and all. Job, I'll tell you what is job. Don't worry. Okay, so the owner, if it is not clear, at least try to remember. It will show you owner only. Every place it will show you owner only. Always the owner should be SCA. SCA is a permanent login where you cannot delete the SCA login. So SCA should be the owner of any objects, guys. Clear, everyone? Right. So now I told you SQL Server database, okay, is a collection of minimum two files. I'll just add one more point. Database is a collection of minimum two files. Maximum can be any files. Maximum up to 32,767. So remember this number, guys. 32,767 is a magic number. Okay. So 32,767 databases you can create in SQL Server. 32,767 databases you can create in SQL Server. 32,767 files you can add to each database in the SQL Server. 32,767 logins we can create in the SQL Server. 32,767 users you can create in the SQL Server. So this 32,767 number is associated with multiple things in the SQL Server. So databases, files, logins. So like many objects we can, the maximum number will be 32,767, guys. So now we can add 32,767 files here. This is two files you can see here. Database files. You can see two files here. One is data file. So how to identify whether it is a data file or log file? If you just expand this file type, you can see. So that's why database is a collection of minimum two files. One file should be data file, another file should be log file. One file should be data file, another file should be a log file. So what data file will do, what log file will do, I'll just give you a brief, very brief, just to remember. Data file is a kind of permanent storage area, whereas log file is a kind of temporary storage area. Again, I'm repeating, data file is a permanent storage area like a disk. Okay, data file is a permanent storage area. Log file is a temporary storage area. Data file is a permanent storage area. Log file is a temporary storage area. So let's try to understand this, guys. Imagine this is your machine, okay, Windows Server. And you installed SQL Server in this machine. This is your SQL Server. Inside the SQL Server, we have the databases. So imagine this is your database, right? And okay, so this is your application. From where we are getting the data, guys? From the application. Imagine this is walmart.com. Okay. This is your application walmart.com. So users are connected to the application and they are doing some shopping, guys. They are connected to the application. They are doing some shopping. So when you are purchasing something, right? Once your order is finalized, when you are ordering, so you are going to give your details, right? You are going to give your details. So here for this database, I told you, right? Two files will be created. One is log file. Second one is data file. Okay. Second one is uh, data file. Any nodes kind of thing. Table. Okay, you can use anything. Just to differentiate, okay? Just to differentiate. Right. And remember, whenever you are inserting the data in the database, always it will goes to log file first. Always it will goes to log file first. Always. This is the default behavior of the SQL Server. So for safety purpose, so whenever you are inserting any data or whenever you are doing a business using the application, anything, you are giving your details. For example, you are giving these details. When you are purchasing something, it will generate a script like this. Insert into Walmart items table, insert into table name, values, something like 1. What we can do, imagine Dharani, okay, is purchasing something. Dharani Kumar, comma, maybe he is purchasing a sofa, okay, sofa, and it's around 40,000, something like that, okay, and for Bangalore location, close it. Okay, so now when Dharani is doing shopping, when he's selected, I'm just giving a sample record. Okay, just giving a sample record to understand. Right. So when Dharani is doing a shopping, once he bought something by giving his payment details and all, by giving his address and all, it will generate a record like this. This is a, we can say this is a transaction. Insert into table name values, the values, whatever values that you want to insert in the table name. So the whole statement is called transaction, guys. Okay, the whole statement is called transaction. Record means this one. One Dharani Kumar sofa 40,000 BLR. These 5 values that are going to be inserted into the table is called record. The whole thing is a transaction. The values that you can see in the open brackets is your record. Is it clear, guys? Everyone, till now. Is it clear?
Yes, Anmukh.
So whenever you are doing a business in the application, not only that, for example, you are filling the application form or you are applying the leaves in your internal portal. For example, you are working and you are applying the leaves or you are selecting a cab to go to your location. So every transaction that you are doing in any application, internally, it will generate a transaction, guys. That transaction First, it will go to the SQL Server database. Database means we have two files, right? There are two destinations now. There are two destinations now. So first, always the transaction will goes to your log file. Remember, any transaction, the first destination is the log file of the database. First, it will goes to log file, guys. So what log file will do? It will store some details. Okay, log file will track, will capture lot of details of this transaction. So the transaction, for every transaction, SQL Server will allocate one ID that is called LSN number. What is that, guys? LSN number, log sequence number. Okay, log sequence number. For every transaction, see, that is going to be inserted in a table, right? So automatically it will allocate for internal purpose and all, it will allocate one number called LSN number, log sequence number. All the transactions will be identified using this LSN number only, log sequence number. So log5 will capture all the details, LSN number, the transaction, the query, and when it came, at what time it came, on which database, on which table. So all the details, like around 108 properties, 108 attributes, like right, just now we discussed, each one is one attribute. When it came, on what database it was executed, what is the command, what is the LSN number, what is the previous LSN, what is the current LSN, what is the next LSN, at what time, on what day, everything. These are all, each one is a one attribute. So everything will be tracked using this log file. Using this log file, everything will be tracked, guys. Why? Because for recovery purpose. If something went wrong, for example, now you lost something, guys. Maybe a certificate folder you lost. So some of you are going to manage the folder certificates in the folder, and on top of that, maybe you can just add your name, complete address, and all, right? So if you have a complete address, you can easily, maybe someone, the certificates means no one like is going to use those certificates. That is your certificates. Those are all. So no one can use that. So at least they will try to send it. If you have a complete address on the file, there is a chance that you can get the certificate somehow, right? So if you have a complete address for delivery purpose, it is easy. We can easily reach you with the complete address. In the same way, for recovery purpose, if something went wrong during this process, if you have all those details, we can easily track the transactions for the next time when it is running, guys. So that's why by default in SQL Server, every database will have two files. One is data file, second one is log file. Data file is your permanent storage area, whereas log file is your temporary storage area. Log file is your temporary storage area. Any transaction that is coming from the application, first it will goes to your log file. So log file will add some details, and it will store the log file, it will store the transaction to the log file temporarily. And once the transaction, there is a word called commit. Once the transaction is committed, so this transaction will be moved from log file to data file permanently. Once this is safe, once this is safe, guys, okay, the same transaction will be truncated from the log file. Okay, the same transaction will be truncated from the log file, guys. The same transaction will be truncated from the log file. Just 1 minute, I'm trying to add this. to back to front. Okay, chalo, no problem. Okay, I'm just trying to copy paste this message, the small message box here. Okay. So whenever you are inserting any transaction, this is the common process, guys. Okay. First, the transaction will goes to the database log file, and the log file will record the transaction, and then log file will store the whole transaction, whereas your data file will store only the values that are there in the open brackets, guys. This is called record. I told you, right? This is called a record. Okay, so the data file will store the records only, whereas log file will store the whole transaction. I told you why. Why? Because for recovery purpose, if you have the whole transaction while doing a redo process or undo process, okay, you should have complete details to recover the transactions. So that's why log file will store all the details completely. So once it is 1 minute, once the data is अरे